Hey friends, it's your girl Layla. As I'm filming this, it's really dark and gloomy. I'm really leaning into this whole natural lighting thing. I really need to invest in some different lights, but it's fine. We have our Cosmic Stardust Alani, which I think is my favorite flavor. This and the Pink Slush so far. We are in a different location today because I felt like it. We're also going to be doing things a little bit differently. I know I'm just mixing everything up and scrambling it to pieces. I am going to be filming the books that I read in April, and I'm also going to be doing my May hopefuls or this month's hopefuls all in the same video. I know that's a lot. I'm gonna try and go pretty quick. This video might be long, but with that being said, it's kind of hard to film both of those separately and then upload them separately because they're kind of one of those things where you want to upload them together because they need to be put out within the same time frame. Like for TikTok, that works to put them out separately. It's chaotic, but it makes sense. With that being said, we have about 13 books to get through my thoughts for, so let's start out. The first book that I read in April was actually an ARC, and it is The Daughter of Tides, which is the first book into the Born to Sea and Storm duology, and this is a spinoff of the Bound to Fire and Steel duology, which the author released last year, and I loved it. It was an A+ romantasy, and this was no different. I absolutely love this, and I'm so glad that the author returned to the world because I really enjoyed those two books, and the world building was so intense that I was like, we can't just end here. There's so much more that could be divulged. I rated the book 4 stars, and I just am excited to continue on. Daughter of Tides is also pretty spicy, but it has a lot of meaningful spice. It's not just extra spice, it's meaningful, which I am a really big fan of meaningful spice. Actually, as I'm filming this, the book is released today, May 6th. So by the time you'll be seeing this, the book is out. Please go pick it up. The next book I read was a buddy read with my friend Audrey, and it is Ready or Not by Cara Bastone. I rated this 4 stars. I thought that this was such a cute and fun romance, and because of this, I picked up Promise Me Sunshine. I will say and give this warning that this book has the pregnancy trope in it, and I am not the biggest fan of said trope, but with that being said, if it's written well like this was, the characters were all fleshed out, given unique personalities, I just really, really love this. I think that it's done well, and I like it. I like it if it's done well. I also cannot commend the tension in this book. There's a scene when they're in the movie theater and they're flirting. You can feel the chemistry and tension sizzle and crack between them without any spice. It's just so good. I definitely recommend this book. The next book that I read in April was, no surprise, Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, and let me just say infinity stars. This was probably my top read of the month. I haven't even gotten through most of my books. This is the 3rd book, but whenever Suzanne Collins drops a new book, I can confidently say I will absolutely love it because I have loved this series for so long. I was a senior in high school when I read these books, and I love them then and I love them now. I do want to do a reread because I haven't read them in so long. I am so excited for this movie. I like that they're slowly trickling out the casting. It's really brilliant. This gets infinity stars for me, and I will say this was painful. This is traumatic. I am still thinking about this and just how terrible some of the scenes are, but it's addicting. It's a train wreck that you can't look away from, and you're sitting on the tracks and you're like, I'm about to die, but you just can't move because you're paralyzed. That's how I feel. And here's the thing, there can really be no spoilers because we know what happens to Haymitch. We saw him in the original 3 Hunger Games books. I get it. What this poor man went through, what this poor boy in here went through was no, terrible. The one thing that I will say that is maybe a spoiler for this, and maybe skip ahead like a few seconds. I know that the Hunger Games is bad in general, but if we thought that Katniss and Peeta's Hunger Games were terrible, they were nothing compared to this. At least they had support behind them. That was the thing that I found craziest about this book, and maybe I should do like a whole deep dive review on this separately with spoilers, because there will be spoilers in this video for other books, but I know that this is such an anticipated release for some people that maybe this isn't the place to talk about it. So with that being said, yes, please, please, please read this, and just read The Hunger Games in general. There is such good commentary. It's one of my top favorites, and I was reminded why it is one of my top favorites. The next book that I read is also by one of my favorite authors. I love Elsie Silver. I've loved all her books. I rated this book 4.75 stars. I can't quite pinpoint why this wasn't like a full-on 5-star read for me, but it wasn't. And I am a firm believer that like 5 stars are like given to books, not only that are just really good books, but there has to be like a vibe. Like I have to be so enamored and entranced with the book, and I just didn't 100% feel that, but I love the story still, like nonetheless. I love Reese, I love Tabitha. I feel like the plot was really funky, and I was like, how is the author going to write this? But I should have just trusted the process, because it worked out and it was pretty believable, even though like there's a disclaimer in the beginning saying like for legality purposes, it's not, I believe, possible for this plot to have happened. But yeah, I really did. The one last thing that I will say about this is I do love how the couple grew together, and it was like enemies to lovers via miscommunication trope, which those are two interesting tropes to put together, but it also works really well. If you like Elsie Silver's writing and you've loved the other 2 books in the series, definitely go read this. I will say this probably wasn't my favorite of the series, because I think Wild Eyes just takes that. I definitely needed that fluffy romance after reading Sunrise on the Reaping. The next book I read is another book of the month book, and that is The Favorites by Lane Fargo. If you don't know, here's a little side tangent. I was a little bit behind on my book of the month, so I was like trying to read as many as possible, and I'm still like getting caught up, but I'm definitely like where I need to be now. The Favorites was like at the top of my book of the month TBR and like books I was excited for. And let me just say, I rated this 3.5 stars. I feel like this book is slightly overhyped, or at least it was for me. I came into this book with way too many expectations. It is formatted the same way that Daisy Jones and the Six is, at least for like half the book. And a lot of people have been comparing it to that and saying that this is just like such a great book, and they're like being mind blown by it. And here's the thing. I thought it was just mid. I just never connected with the main character, Katerina, and we get her point of view. I thought she was kind of cold, which I will say good job to the author, because that was her character. It was cold, but the way it was written was cold, and I just never liked it. Like, I was finding myself wondering why I should care. Like, okay, like, I think that this book does have an audience, and I think that you should try and read it, but I will say, be warned to not go into this book with all these huge expectations, because you may find yourself disappointed. Next up, we have one of the books that I was most excited for the release of, and yet this was probably my biggest disappointment of the month, and that is Fearless by Lauren Roberts. I know. I have like a whole review and video of it on my page. I was so excited to get this book. I went to Barnes & Noble the day of, because I didn't even want to pre-order it, because I wanted the special Barnes & Noble exclusive, and I feel like Barnes & Noble really be slacking on getting their books shipped out and arriving on the day of publication. So yes, I went to Barnes & Noble to get this, and fun fact, I was feeling like crap that whole day, like dehydrated, and I still was like pushing myself to go to Barnes & Noble and get this. I rushed home and I was so excited to read this. I read this and I just feel like it became so cliche. and I just won't be able to get over some of the things that happen in this book. Again, I don't want to spoil anything because I know that this is a newer book and a very anticipated and popular book for some of the folks who may be watching this. So if you do really want to watch this, you can watch my whole like thoughts and opinions on this, but it almost put me in a reading slump because I was just so disappointed and I thought it was so bad. I rated this 3 stars, but honestly, it deserves maybe 2.5 in my opinion. And this is really harsh for me to say, but I was so disappointed in how this ended. And I'm glad that I didn't read it back to back, like all 3 books in a novella, because it's just overly repetitive. And while the yearning is great in the first 2 books, it gets redundant and it gets boring, especially because a lot of the phrasing is similar. That is even more than I want to talk. Also, this book is huge. Huge, I tell you. 588 pages. And it almost put me in a reading slump because it took me a little over a week to read this. I just like wanted to get it over with, but like I just didn't want to also pick up a book because I was not having fun. And I was just like, I want this to be over. The next book that I read is another arc. It is Tenderly I Am Devoured by Lyndall Clipstone. This book is being published July 1st, and add this to your TBR, especially if you love moody and gothic books. This was very similar to A Study in Drowning in like just the same type of vibe. It's very vibey, very gothic. There are a lot of twists and turns, and I don't want to spoil anything because it's an arc obviously, but just add it, especially if you enjoyed A Study in Drowning. And even if you didn't really enjoy A Study in Drowning, still add it, because if you wanted to like A Study in Drowning, you might like Tenderly I Am Devoured. I absolutely love this, and the cover of this book is chef's kiss. So stunning. When it is published, I'm definitely picking up a trophy. Up next is Deep End by Ali Hazelwood, and Ali Hazelwood is one of my favorite romance authors. I rated this 5 stars, infinity stars, maybe? Like, I know that that sounds extreme. I know that there's like a lot of controversy on this book, whether it's like actually spicy or not, but I thought it was a good representation of being like spicy, but not like overly spicy, but like still getting the point across. But I just love the characters, and I think part of the reason too why I love this book, maybe this is cheating, but there were mentions of Adam and Olive from The Love Hypothesis. And The Love Hypothesis is one of my top contemporary romance novels of all time. That's one of my favorite books. I love when Ali does this and she like throws characters in or like mentions them. It was just so fun to read about and like hear about some of my favorite characters, and I love how like everything fit in with the scope of this world. Also, I'm a huge fan of these edges and like this cover. I don't know, this was one of the books again where it's like 5 stars, infinity stars is a vibe, and this book definitely had the vibes, and this is what I really needed after, you know, having some books that were just like, okay. I love Ali Hazelwood so much. I am such an Ali Hazelwood fangirl. I am so excited for Unproblematic Summer Romance and Mate. I'm excited. Like, I know I keep saying that, but like, wow. After Bride, I was like, how is this gonna end like this? I need a sequel, and like immediately. And then I saw that there was the sequel announced when she did it at like, she was speaking about it at the panel or whatever she was on, and like I full on fangirled. I am so excited because of the fact that I was looking forward to this, and I know that a lot of people also were probably looking forward to this, but like also me very looking forward to this. Next up, we have Our Infinite Fates by Laura Steven. I rated this 3.5 stars, but now that I'm thinking about it, it's probably a 3 or 3.25, only because this book was so good for like a lot of the book, and then the pacing started getting funky. And then the end just kind of fell off for me. It was so random. It kind of hits you, or like not the end, like the last 50 pages really just come out of nowhere and like the pacing gets super funky, and I just wasn't a fan of how it was executed. Like, I could see the author's like vision, but I just don't think that it actually worked. I don't want to say too many spoilers again for this because I know that this is a newer book and a lot of people are just getting to it. It is very reminiscent of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. This was pretty comparable, I will say. I will also say the good thing about this too is this was really short. I read this in like 4 or 5 hours. It was a pretty quick read. I just can't get over like the plot. I feel like it could have been done a little bit differently than how it ended. It just kind of smacks you in the face. The next book I'm going to talk about is a book that by all means should have been a DNF. However, I got a virtual library card and this book happened to be available via audiobook. Had I had any other books, I would have just DNF'd this, and it is The Unfortunate Side Effects of Heartbreak and Magic by Brienne Randall. And let me just say, I rated this 2 stars. That is like actually, that's being nice and generous. Not only is the female main character the most whiny and annoying that I have ever met, like she had the maturity level of an 18-year-old and this woman is fully 28 years old. The thing that got me about this book is there is instances of dog napping. She literally naps her love interest dog, like the dog comes into her garden when he's not paying attention. The love interest is looking at a house that is like not very far from her. The dog comes wandering over while she's in the garden, and instead of giving him back, she decides she's going to keep him. And then when he comes over, he finds her and was like, "Oh, were you trying to steal my dog?" And she was like, "No, absolutely not, maybe." And then he thinks that it's just cute and like lets her keep the dog. And then he just casually is like, "Oh, like, can I have my dog back?" Like, excuse me? What? I'm so like for real when I say that I hate that so much. That is garbage. It's not cute. It's not funny. And you don't steal people's dogs, especially when you know. It turns out throughout this whole thing that he was like engaged with a baby on the way. I'm sorry, I don't care about spoiling this because I just hated this. And anyways, it all turns out that she lied to him, and then that's like why they can't be together. But I will say one of the other big things I didn't like about this book is that the grandma has cancer, and I don't feel like cancer is or was depicted well. As somebody who lost their grandmother to cancer, this was triggering because she was apparently having like 3 weeks left to live, and she was still up and about working and going to the shop and pretending all was fine. However, in real life, that was not the case at all. Like, I don't want to talk about it because again, I'm triggered, but when you are in that final stage, like in those final stages of cancer and you have that much time left to live, that is not how you'll be acting. And I was triggered by that. Like, this whole book triggered me. I did not like this book. I really should have DNF'd this book. The next book that I read was The Mirror of Beasts by Alexandra Bracken, which is the conclusion to Silver in the Bone. I love a good Arthurian tale. This was 4.25 stars. I just thought it was perfect for like a YA book. And I love the plot. There is a lot of info dumping, but it's really fun. I could totally see this being like made into a movie or like a TV show or something. I guess I don't have too many thoughts on this, only because it was one of those books that was like really good and I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like the most memorable to me. I just think that like after having a few like bad books in a row, this was kind of hard to, I don't want to say get into, because like my mood was kind of killed. Like, it's fine. But again, nothing on this book. I really did like it. It was a good book. I did have one DNF that I tried to attempt to read also during this time, and it is Cruel is the Light by Sophie Clark. And this is maybe a soft DNF. I might come back into this, but it is important to know this if you want to read this, that it is a fantasy that is like set with real life figures and places, which I am quickly learning that a lot of times I can't buy into this. So like, for example, the big bad character was Anastasia Romanoff, and she was like a vampire demon angel, whatever. I don't even know. I think it's like demons and angels. She was a demon. Anastasia Romanoff. I couldn't buy into that. I just could not buy into that. That was like my first thing where I'm just like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know. And then like nothing was really progressing plot wise, and I was just like, I can't get over this. I feel like it could have been done better, and I think it would have been better if it would have been like made up people that we had no affiliation of knowing who they were, and made up places. That's just me. I might come back to this book in the future if I'm looking for something like in that realm, but like for right now, with having as many like books that I was unhappy with, I was like, I can't read this right now. So that was that. Second to last, we are almost there. I read First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. I had this via audiobook. I listened to it while I was working, and I loved this. I rated this 4.75 stars. It was so cat and mousy, which is one of my favorite things to read about. And I am quickly realizing that thrillers are like one of my favorite genres to listen to via audiobook. And I definitely recommend this via audiobook because it was so good. The narrator was amazing. And I really love this. There was one thing that could have happened that I was hoping would have happened the whole time, and it didn't, but other than that, I really enjoyed this. The last book that I read is Daughter of the Siren Queen by Trisha Levenseller. This was so cute. I rated it 4.25 stars. I also really love a strong female character, and listen, Alosa is the strongest, and she's also so smart. She will do anything for her crew, and I really love this. It's a female Pirates of the Caribbean type book, and I definitely recommend. It's a YA novel as well. It was so well done. There's one more book in the series, and I'm hoping to read it sometime soon. I don't know if I'll have time to read it this month, but maybe next month. Those were the 13 books plus D and F that I read, and now let's move on to my hopefuls, which are all right here. There were two books that I was currently in the middle of that I didn't finish at the end of the month, and the first is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. I took the dust jacket off of this. I'm about 30% of the way done with it, and I am really enjoying this book. However, it's taking me a long time to get through because it's very info dumpy. There's a lot going on and a lot to memorize. I may or may not just slowly chip on that throughout the month. I was also in the middle of an arc, which is Well Actually by Macy Eddings. I am loving this. It is so funny. Now, with the rest of my hopefuls list, let's get on with it, shall we? I have a couple more books on my Kindle for like my main hopefuls that I would like to read. The first is the first Zodiac Academy book. My friend Mercedes started reading this, and it's been on my hopefuls for so long. As I'm filming this, I'm about like 60% of the way through the book, and I am obsessed, guys. I may throw away my whole TBR just to read the Zodiac Academy series, and there are a lot of books in that series, so we shall see. I also have on the Kindle the third book in the Mistborn Era 1, which is The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. I took a break last month from reading it because these books can be like really long. I don't know when I'll get to reading it because I really do want to read it, and I thought about it a lot last month, but like after reading the Zodiac Academy, I don't know. It's just kind of hard. I don't have enough time in the day. Like I need more hours. Give me 30. I also have another book that I'm carrying over from last month, which I didn't get to, which is A Rivalry of Hearts by Tessania Odette. I have been craving a like Regency Bridgerton-esque type book. That is one of my favorite genres, okay? Regency and like historical romance is my bread and butter. That is what got me back into reading, truly, the Bridgerton series. I haven't read a book in this genre in so long, and I'm hoping that this will like scratch the itch. I will say that May is my most mood reader month. Like truly all these books are a suggestion. With my hopefuls, I try and like at least hope to get through them. It's like a very like loosely strict TBR, if that makes sense. And I think that that is also because last month was just okay. Like, I had some really great reads, and then I had some really terrible reads, and I had a DNF, and like that just completely knocks me off balance, especially when I finish a book that should have been a DNF, like against my better judgment. This is where we get full mood readery, because I don't expect to read all these books, but I would like to read like maybe one or two of them. And this is Emily Henry's books. I have Book Lovers, A Great Big Beautiful Life, which is her new book. I have Happy Place, and I have Funny Story. I have realized I haven't read most of Emily Henry's books, and Beach Read and People We Meet on Vacation were two of my favorite reads for like contemporary romance. So I would like to read more of her books, but again, I don't think I'll be able to read all four of these. If I were to choose maybe one, it would be Book Lovers to read, and then just maybe work my way through like the publication reading order, but we'll see. This is a loose suggestion. I also have a few books via audiobook that I have the physical books of as well. I might do a few other audiobooks just depending, but the first is The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. The next two books we shall see. I might do one audiobook and one physical, only because I have a library hold for one of them and I actually have the book for the other one. And the one that I am waiting for is Leather and Lark. And the one that I currently have is Scythe and Sparrow. And I'm one of one in line. Because I work such long hours, I work 11-hour shifts, I am able to like listen to a lot while I'm working. So again, I might listen to more audiobooks. I have a few more hopefuls here, not to mention my ARCs. I have this book, which is Avalon Tower, the Fae Academy for Spies. I got this the same day that my friend Mercedes got the Zodiac Academy book, and I started reading this like the first couple pages, and I didn't want to stop. However, I'm in the middle of a few books right now, and because I'm in the middle of Legendborn, which is an Arthurian tale, I didn't want to read this because I don't want to get them mixed up, because they're like, you know, similar, they deal with similar topics. This was a late edition. I don't know if I'll be able to get to this, but I really would like to, because I liked what I started reading. I have also heard a lot of good things, and like all the people that I follow have read this and reviewed it, and it's all been like pretty high star ratings. So like it makes me really want to read this. I also have House of Light. Moody. I really love gothic fantasy books, especially if it's moody and like vibey. I know that it's not for everyone, but it's just fun for me and I really like it. I don't know if I'll get to this, but again, this is one of those where I started reading it in Barnes & Noble, like the first page, and I was like, okay, like I really need this book and I'm intrigued, but we'll see. For book of the month, to like add another book to that, I would like to read Enchantra by Kaylee Smith. And again, I don't know if I'll be able to get to this. Like, to be fair, I don't know if I'll be able to get to all of these because of the fact that I might just read all the Zodiac Academy books. But I was really looking forward to this after Phantasma, and I would like to read this. It's shorter than Phantasma, so that's good. And I think it's on Kindle Unlimited, so like if worse comes to worse while I'm on vacation, because I will be going to my parents' house for like 9 or 10 days this month, I could read it on my Kindle. I'm trying to be good and not overpack when I go there, so we'll see. Other than my ARCs, this book, Promise Me Sunshine by Cara Bastone, is the last book on my list. And I will say this may not even get read. I'm only adding it on here if my friend Audrey can do a buddy read with me, and if I can't do it, then I am not going to read it, but you know, it's just here in case. I guess the last thing we have to talk about now is my ARCs, because I have 12 ARCs. They're all e-ARCs from NetGalley, and your girl has been approved for a lot within the span of like a week. I feel like every time I finish an ARC, I get more. And I'm just like, wow, like I'm getting caught up. Bam, hit with ARC. I do this to myself. I love browsing the catalogs of like what's new and like what's most popular. And I just have fun doing that before bed. I need to not do that. You know, it's all great. It's all fine. I have no self-control, and my ADHD tells me that I can do and get through a lot more books than I usually do. So that is also a great example of like my hopefuls, very ADHD. But yeah, that is what I read in April and my hopefuls for May. Also, I need to do like a revamp of my TBR cart because I am not pulling books for my hopefuls and TBR off of this cart. Like you would think so, but I'm just not feeling the inspiration, or I haven't. So it's fine. We'll have to do that, or like I need to make a challenge or something because I am accumulating a lot of books, and I'm reading them fast, but not as fast as I'm accumulating them, girl. Let me tell you that. I would also like to read Lady of Darkness by Melissa Roerich, but you've seen this list. Like, I couldn't put it on there. I just, it gets to a point where like you add so many things and it gets overwhelming. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, make sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more of my book adventures and yapping about books. I might do some bookish vlogs here soon because that was pretty fun when I did it that first time. Anyway, friends, I hope you have a lovely day or night or whenever you're watching this, and I hope your reads are all 5 stars. Bye, friends!